And tax day, I was really busy today. Everybody wants to get their taxes in on at the last minute, and it's not always easy to do. And then try to do the regular business. So it wasn't a good thing. It was a great day, but because it's tax day, it's what we work for all year long. Tax day, we'll look to get over it. So that's what we did. So I want to welcome. I want to welcome Jim Leahy here with me. Say hello to the folks, Jim.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing? Happy Tax Day. Hopefully it didn't hurt you too hard. No, it hurt me pretty hard, but that's all right. It's a smile of
it always hurts.
Knowing that Open Tax Advocates is going to be there for me if I need them.
It always hurts. So.
It does. But hey, it was a great day today. Sun was shining. You know, birds were chirping, the bees are flying around. Life's good.
Life is good.
What are we going to talk about today, Attorney Stephen Leahy? I mean, it is tax day, so I shouldn't have to worry about my taxes.
A couple things we're going to talk about. But this is where he starts. To be honest with you, right? Because if you owe, this is one they're not coming after you before today, unless you owed for other years, which is what happens a lot of times, right? Is that people owe for multiple years, and then it comes time for tax day, and then they don't file because they owe again. But again, what we're going to talk about today, there's big news here about election here in Illinois that a lot of people haven't even heard about, and I want to talk about that. And there's a recount in DuPage going on. You know, we have recounts in Arizona, the big news.
Don't they do that just every year, though?
Well, this one's different, right? Because they always do what they call they always do a recount. You know, when there's a close election, they do a recount. But it's not an audit, really. All they do is recount the votes. And if the machine is screwed up, or some other things are already been played with, well, that doesn't change anything. And so you really need to do an audit like they're doing in Arizona. That's what you need. That's what you need in Georgia, right? That's what you need in Wisconsin. That's what you need in Pennsylvania. That's what you need in Michigan, Wyoming, South Carolina, North Carolina.
I was berated for political views last week. So.
Well, who was berated you? For me? I don't know if it was.
You said we went too political on Israel Palestine.
Well, you know what?
Like
this show is Call to Action. Like, that's the name of this show. And so we're going to get involved in anything that means. The only thing that I'm concerned about, and that's why I think that's why we got to be on WatchTalkRadio.com, because I think if we start talking about issues like elections, we might be banned, from Facebook, and then we'll get them off, and then you won't see what we have to say about it. So that's why we have WatchTalkRadio.com in order to make it available so you can still see the show if, in fact, Facebook and YouTube ban us. And so sometimes we're going to talk about things that they might not like, because that's what the show's about. Call to action, calling you to action to make a change. Right, and that's what that's all about. So, I'm getting a new camera. That I learned that the Canon T3i, you can't stop it every half hour from turning off and turning back on.
Don't know why that is, man.
That's because
what if I'm filming a movie? Non-stop.
It's not made for that. No, that's what the problem is. That's what the problem is.
I love those commercials where it's like shot on an iPhone. And it's like, wow, it looks really good, but it's like the top of the line with like different apps.
But it's still good. It's still good.
Oh, it looks great.
That's
not what my iPhone is.
No, I agree with that. But let us do the intro. Look at the intro, Jim. I think it's going.
Oh, it's paused. It's good.
I understand a full recount is not an audit. That's what I was just talking about.
Well,
sometimes you need an audit.
That's based on, and you're responding to a text from a listener.
From a watcher.
Well, I do want to say if anybody's watching this and they want to get a hold of Attorney Stephen Leahy, and even if you want to just talk or shoot the proverbial, I'm not going to say it.
If I had a staff, if we had a team, then we can hang at the chat. But I don't have a team, so I can't look at the chat.
I'm part of the team. I'll watch the chat. That's what I'm here
So that's what, I think that's another reason why we got to start directing people to one place. And I know that you don't, but no, I understand.
I mean, I've been advocating for that.
I know, but we have to go to watchtalkradio.com and not one of the Facebook pages. You're not going
to get anybody to watch.
The problem with it, CTA, like the Facebook CTA, the CTA won't. There's nobody knows that we don't have anybody on that page, so nobody's going to watch it there. So I go to my personal page, and that's where they're going to be banned. And then I go to that's where I have a lot of friends that can watch the show, that'll be able to see the show. But this is what
let us get back on track to call to action.
The watcher.
What we're here for.
Okay, so the watcher talked about this. What happened there? Okay. But what I wanted to talk about here, we'll talk about this. Right. This is the judge orders a recount in DuPage County auditor race. It's not the audit, but it's an auditor race. But I want to just read this a little bit because this is exactly what the problem is everywhere in Wisconsin, in Arizona. Many of them now. A lot of people are machine people. They think the machines are all screwed up. But I'm not. Even if you don't even talk about the machines, it's just a count. Okay, a DuPage County judge has ordered a full recount of the November race for DuPage County auditor, ruling that there are enough ballots in question to potentially overturn the results. Any in-precinct ballot that is not initialed shall be deemed defective and not counted, Judge Craig R. Belford wrote in a written ruling Wednesday. According to the initial count, incumbent Republican Bob Grogan lost to Democratic challenger William White by 75 votes. Grogan sought a recount, claiming in court filings that an election judge at a Downers Grove Township polling place failed to initial all ballots as required by Illinois law. In Downers Grove Township, Precinct 7, skip that, White and anyway, that's where they were. Those precincts had some problems. So they're saying, hey, only some precinct judge failed to initial these ballots. Well, the Illinois law says if they're not initialed, they don't count. Grogan contends that if uninitialed ballots are declared invalid and not counted, he would beat White by 7 votes. In his ruling, Belford wrote that the Illinois Supreme Court is clear that statutes requiring election judges to initial ballots are mandatory and uninitialed ballots may not be counted. Okay, so what do you think the other side's going to say, right? The Democrat on the party. What he's going to say is, hey, wait a minute. These votes, every vote should count. Because why? It's not fair that if this judge made some mistake, it's human error, and this should still count. White, who has sworn in office, he was already sworn in office. White's already been in office. He's already taken over. They're trying to overturn it. What I want to make clear is the order does not pertain to any allegations of fraud, White said. There is nothing in the court proceedings pertaining to any sort of fraud. There is a possibility of human error in failing to initial certain ballots. It's my contention all of those ballots are legitimate voters legitimately cast. So then the question becomes, does it matter if they're legitimate voters that legitimately cast those votes? Or does the law prevail that if the judge doesn't initial them on the back, that they don't count, they're not valid? That's what Illinois law says. And there's a whole host of Illinois law that supports this. As they mentioned, there's an Illinois Supreme Court case that explains what the rules are. Grogan was not immediately available to comment. I think this is the first DuPage County. We found hundreds of ballots that contain no election judge's initials, which invalidates them. Not addressed in this ruling, but we will certainly be looking into why there are plus 1,600 more ballots than people who voted. Okay, so This is what I'm saying. This is where this whole thing comes from. It's the same thing in Wisconsin, right? Well, they didn't have in Wisconsin many votes. I think the difference was like 11,000 votes in Wisconsin. And many of the ballots didn't have a witness on them. Okay? And the Wisconsin law dictates and requires a witness and an affidavit for mail-in votes, and they didn't have it, so they shouldn't count according to the law. But it was, well, wait a minute, it doesn't matter that what the law says. We want all votes to count, and again, the rule should be all legitimate, qualified citizen votes should count. Not every vote should count. If it's illegal, if it doesn't follow the rules, then it shouldn't count. If there's not a custody, if it doesn't have chain of custody proof, well, it shouldn't count. That's what the law says. That's where I always come down on this. Are we a country of laws, or are we not a country of laws? Do the laws? Why do we have these rules for elections if we're not going to follow the rules for the election? It doesn't make any sense to me, and it shouldn't make sense to you, right? What do you think, Jim? Yeah. Should it count? Yes, I know you want to pay attention.
Not really listening.
Okay, well, because
it doesn't. It's not. Nothing's going to happen, man.
I have to say that something is happening. So
I mean, if something's happening, I'm sitting here.
If you have a judge who's already made this ruling, and he's going to make a decision based on the legitimate votes, following the laws, and Grogan has more votes, well, then he wins, doesn't he?
Yeah, but then you have a theory.
It's not a theory. That's the law. That's not a theory.
How many times have we seen it where you get a federal judge come in and slap it down and stop this?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then we aren't a country of laws at all, and this is what bothers me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not.
So
there's some laws that we pick and choose, and there's others that just kind of go to the wayside. But trust me, if you got caught breaking one of them, you're going to get in trouble.
If I got caught.
Well, no. I mean, I'm talking to the audience. It doesn't matter what color you are or what person you are, or what party you're a part of. If you get caught breaking that law, they're going to come after you. But then when you're a part of a collective, right, and you pick and choose a collective of who can get away, who can't. It's just that's not how this should be.
I agree. This is what everybody was. This is what I've been angry about for 4 years now, at least since, because we have different rules depending on who we're applying against. Again, we can talk about any of these things that are going on. January 6th, I think, is an important distinction to compare. It's a protest, like all protests, but they held it to a different standard. And this is either we're a country of laws or we're not. And let's count the votes the way the law says we have to count the votes, and let the chips fall where they may. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it should be in Arizona, and again Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and this. They're going to take a week off in Arizona because they have some graduations that are taking over that venue, but then they're going to start counting again. I understand that they're only 20% finished. They're not releasing day-by-day results, so we don't know exactly what happened. But we'll see what happens. And again, let the chips fall where they may. If you count them and they were right, then God bless them. That's the way it should be. And all elections should be transparent and held to a high standard, at the highest standard, shouldn't they? Seems. If we're going to if we say we're a democratic republic and everything's based on the vote, and then we don't even use the vote, we don't even look at the votes, well, then we're not really a democratic republic, are we? We're just an oligarchy who's going to do whatever they want to do and tell us all the way it should be, instead of letting us make our own decisions based on the vote. And so anyway, that's what. Now the next thing I want to talk about the some of these programs. You may have you've talked about the PPP program. May 5th, which was I just learned that they stopped taking new applicants for the PPP program because they ran out of money. They ran out of money the first round of the first phase of the first round. They ran out of money and they refunded it. Will they refund this one? I don't know. We'll see if they refund.
What a cluster that was last year when that first PPP hit. And that was the Wild West. Now they're getting a little bit better on how they can do their funding. But I'm sure that there's going to be more programs out there for businesses. Well, it's going to have to be. I think otherwise you're going to still businesses are still hurting. People are still in a lot of trouble. Well,
I have clients who are behind in their mortgage, and we're kind of holding off because there's the foreclosure moratorium right now. They can't go forward with any laws. The Illinois Pritzker came out. Let's see if I can find that. Pritzker came out today with a new rule. Let's see if I can find it here.
The new ruling. So what is that for businesses?
No, this is for residents now.
Okay, so it's sort of like Lake County's residential program that we learned through our guests on the Trust Radio Network. That's going to be attorney. But that was attorney Dave Schwanner from last week. But 2 weeks ago we had Dick Barr, who's a realtor with the Dick Barr Group. He informed our listeners and us too, about the rental assistance program that people aren't taking advantage of here in Lake County. Again, if you have rental programs, or if you were a landlord and you're behind in your payments and you're worried about foreclosing, well, there's a program. Here, zoom in a little bit. There's a program where you can get up to 12 months.
Okay,
that's 1 year.
That's right. Well, here, let me tell you.
I did the math.
Let me do you another one. This is the Illinois program. It's called the 2021 Illinois Rental Payment Program. And as you mentioned, in Lake County, it goes to 12 months. This program is 15 months. So you can get 15 months of your rent paid. So you're behind, you haven't made, and so here's the eligibility requirements. Let's see if we can get this in here. I'll blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, so as you pull it up, remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions regarding any of these issues, right? You're a landlord behind on your payments, or you're a business owner and you're looking to try to get money through the PPP program. Give Open Tax a call, 312-664-6649. Again, Open Tax Advocates can help you with, getting back on the track for financial success.
Okay, well, here's the applicants are eligible up to 15 months of assistance. The grant can cover the past due rent from the previous 12 months and the future months, 3 future months. So the money's out there. Maximum grant $25,000. Who's eligible? So in order to receive financial assistance through the Illinois rental payment program, tenants must meet all of the following. Household is behind on their rent for 30 days. Household lives in Illinois and rents their home as their primary residence. Households take total gross income cannot exceed 80% of the area median income for the location. Well, if you're not paying, your income's not 80%, right? But there are people who are still making money and they're not paying their rent because of these programs. One of the things let's go up to this one now. This is what Pritzker did today. Pritzker Illinois eviction moratorium will end in August. The moratorium was scheduled to end in June.
He extended it.
Couple of months.
That's what they always
do. So and so does that mean it's going to be over? I don't know, right? They keep going 3 months, then another month, kind of like the court system. They always come up with these they've been doing the Zoom court hearings, and at first it was just going to be for very short, couple months, and then it was 6 months, and then so the court keeps coming out with new orders and extending it, and that's what's happening here. So it looks like in August that they're extending it to. Now, will everybody be back to work by August? Is this crisis over by August? Maybe, but probably not.
Right? I hope so.
I don't mean the COVID crisis. I mean the financial crisis.
I know, because the COVID crisis, again, is the financial crisis, Attorney Stephen Leahy. I mean, this financial crisis isn't, as I said before, it seems like everybody's just putting it all on black and saying, okay, well, we're going to gamble and say that by this time everything should be good, and if we just keep kicking down the road and print this up, and eventually the bill's going to have to come due. And that's why this call to action show is so important, especially for people that are tuning in, because it's like, hey, man, the IRS is going to come get their end. You're going to pay. And who are you going to trust when you're making that decision for your attorney? That's why Open Tax is there, 312-664-6649. Again, to help you steer towards financial success, right? And I say that because so many people, very successful business owners, and you say this all the time, right? You're a pie maker. You make the best pies in the world. That's your analogy. You make the best pies in the world. And then all of a sudden, you're not good at the paperwork, but you're really good at pies. And God bless you. Sign me up. But it's just you get caught up with the paperwork. Now you're not making any money. Now everything you're going towards is towards the IRS, and then your business starts falling.
Well, that's exactly what happens, and then people get depressed, and then they don't make the best pies anymore because they're depressed, and then the business starts folding. So the call to action is just take action. Don't get depressed and put your head under the covers and pretend like everything's great. Or nothing's going to be great again. It can be great again, right? You still can make the best pie. You just have to do it with the passion that you had before. It's hard when you're making to have the passion when everything you're doing is being taken from you from the IRS, or you're afraid of what people are afraid of when they don't file their tax return. Going to jail. They're afraid that they're going to go to jail.
Well,
and you can go to jail for not filing tax returns up to 1 year for every year that you don't file. But here's the truth. Very few people go to jail for this. Very few people.
Unless if you're standing there and swearing or using profane language towards the judge or the
first they have to
revenue service.
First, you have to get in front of the judge. Yeah, well, that's true. If you start giving the revenue officers and everybody a tough time, then you're probably gonna, they're gonna up their response to you. And that's the one thing about the revenue officers. They have a lot of power, and they have discretion, so they can come after you or not come after you, right? If you're ignoring them, or you make what happens is a lot of times people will make promises to the IRS, and then they won't follow through on the promise, and that's what gets people in trouble, because then the IRS revenue officer gets upset and then starts taking action against you. And that's where that's when they start going after your bank account, garnishing your wages, and going. So I've had clients. I had a guy who had some rental properties, and the IRS revenue officer at the first of every month would go to all of the properties and collect the rent. So how is he going to function? I had a guy who was a chiropractor, and most of his money came from insurance companies. Well, there was a number of insurance companies, and he went to all the insurance companies, and they took all the money. So this is what can happen.
I like the switching of the cameras up, just checking comments, and catching me off guard.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. A couple listeners out there saying, hey, liking what we're doing. Again, call to action, informing the masses about, again, what you need to do when the IRS is coming after you.
Yeah, they are coming after you. Again, they've already said that they're increasing they're going to increase their collections. The Joe Biden administration is adding $8 billion to the IRS because they have to collect this money from somebody. They have. Where are they going to come up with this trillions of dollars? They can't just print it, although that's what they're doing. But that's where we're going to be coming after. Now, again, we can talk about the inflation that's happening already. But anyway, that's what I think. Go ahead.
I'm excited for this week's lineup, especially on this show, because this tax season's over.
Yes.
But now the new pain has begun, and we're going to talk, because I'm sure that you're going to get a lot of phone calls from people that, especially after this.
Well, again, I think that they keep pushing it over, and it was supposed to be June, and people were panicking about the eviction moratorium lifting, but now you have until August. So that means that if you need help, going into this. If you need some advice about how to get some of these programs though, you don't need a lawyer to go get them. You just have to go apply. The money's out there. One thing about in Illinois, all of this money that they're trying to give away for rental, and I think they're going to have to do something about foreclosures also, right? Because it's not only people who are renting that are having problems, right? People who have their homes and they have a mortgage, they're having problems too. So they're going to have to come up with a program. Now, part of this that Pritzker did today addressed the foreclosure, and they're extending the foreclosure too, and they're changing the rules for foreclosures and not allowing them to go for it for a little while longer also. So, but at the end, again, you have to know what programs are out there. Use the law to your advantage, right? Because sometimes, so I had a client today that we were talking about. He's thinking about filing a Chapter 7, right? Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So can you file a Chapter 7 and then still get a loan modification? Because so right now he's on a there's on a pause on his mortgage. He's not paying right now, the forbearance agreement. And so once the forbearance agreement ends, he'll be eligible for a loan modification. Well, if I file bankruptcy, can I still get a loan modification? And the answer is yeah. I've helped a lot of people who've filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, discharge their debt. They're no longer obligated to pay the mortgage anymore, but they still want to save their home, and there's ways to do that. Now, it's not a guarantee, but nothing's a guarantee. You could, if you don't file bankruptcy, you might not get a loan modification. So simply filing bankruptcy won't be the reason why you don't get a loan modification. And this is what people don't understand, and that's why you have to talk to someone who understands this stuff, that if you get a loan modification, that might stop you from seeking protection under Chapter 7 of the bankruptcy laws. So again, you got to use all the laws to your advantage, and if you don't know what they are, you can't really use them to your advantage. Okay, so for instance, if you have an income above the mean, you can use the delinquent mortgage to overcome the presumption of abuse. And again, I don't want to talk too much, but again, these things work together, and so there's more than one thing you can do, but you have to know what they are and the timing of all of this to make sure that you get the best results. And that's what I help people do. That's what we call it, full financial recovery. So you can put it all together and come up with the best remedy for you. That's what we try to do.
I love that plan, that full financial recovery plan. What's it called? Oh, yeah, the business protection plan. If you own a business and you want to know more about it, give them a call at 312-664-6649. I know I keep throwing the phone number out there, but I don't want people to go without any help or any way to reach. If you're watching, go, well, how do I call? 312-664-6649. You can go over to the Open Tax Facebook page and send a message. Very quick response time. Attorney Stephen Leahy will sit down, video consultation, and go over with you the business protection program and why you need it, especially when you have IRS problems, especially when you haven't filed in several years. How many people you have come through the doors that haven't filed in years?
That's a large part of my business.
Common.
And I can't tell you how many people have been listening to my show. Some people say I don't like to listen to your show because it makes me uncomfortable because it reminds me that I haven't filed in some years, and so I turn it off every time it comes on. I have to turn it off, but they're reminded of it, and they have. And yet again, so eventually you got to take action, don't you think, Jim?
I agree, and that's what this whole show is about—a call to action. Don't sit there anymore. Don't sit on your duff and let this cascading tax issue get worse. Take action now.
That's right.
So, listen, we're going to have a great show this week. You guys got to stay tuned. We're going to be rocking and rolling. I'm going to tell you, there's going to be some great content. Because I know Attorney Stephen Leahy is going to be getting calls left and right. He's going to be helping out, running through I think we should talk about the 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money.
Well, let's do that tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. Tomorrow, well, let's talk about the 6 things we can do if you owe the IRS money. And again, really show people that there are ways of doing it. I did not know, for example, that you can have Chapter 7, you can file a Chapter 7 and also get a loan modification.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't understand that, and that's what's stopping them from getting.
Because they get scared, they get terrified. Well,